Adventists and team lead. I welcome you all to yet another interesting session of our monthly discussion on an important topic in compliance. Your host, my name is Rishi Agrawal. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Avantis Regtech, India's leading regulatory technology company, serving over 1,500 customers, helping them automate and simplify compliance. Last couple of years have been very interesting. The world around us has changed massively. Digitization has been brought forward by close to a decade. Companies which didn't even use emails and video conferencing are now fully embedded with the new way of doing things. Digitization has also changed the life of compliance officers. Today, we are going to talk about rebooting secretarial compliances with technology, and I have an elite panel with me. Let me go ahead and start with the introductions. First, I welcome Bikram Prasti. Bikram is a company secretary of Deccan Cements, a major cement producer in South India. Bikram brings over 15 years of experience with various listed companies. He's a fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. He did his LLB and MCom from Utkal University in Odisha. In addition to the core secretarial functions, Bikram brings diverse experience in handling finance functions as well, including indirect tax such as GST, VAT, CST, service tax, central excise, among others. He has represented the companies and appeared before various tax authorities in connection with tax assessments, appeals under VAT, CST, service tax, and central excise. Bikram, welcome.
Thank you.
Our next attendee today is Pranay. Pranay Kumar is a senior manager legal and compliance at OTO Capital. OTO Capital is a startup that helps customers buy or lease two-wheelers, which has raised about $6 million in Series A investment round led by Matrix Partners. Pranay is a qualified company secretary and law graduate, brings more than 5 years of experience working on secretarial compliances under Companies Act, SEBI compliances, including LODR, FEMA, RERA, among other statutory compliances as applicable to the organization. Pranay has experience on drafting and vetting of contracts, drafting the code of conduct, policies for the company, dealing with various legal cases, legal notices, and compliance management in addition to legal due diligence. Pranay, welcome.
Thanks, Rishi.
The third participant we have today is Kishore. Kishore Khatri is a company secretary and AGM legal at Vishnu Chemicals, one of the pioneers in manufacturing of niche specialty chemicals. Kishore has more than 8 years of post-qualification experience in compliance management and legal functions at pharma and chemical listed manufacturing companies. He is a company secretary, master's degree holder in corporate and securities law. He brings experience with acquisitions of unlisted companies, application to SEBI and stock exchanges for mergers, demergers, FEMA compliance of various subsidiaries, among the other regulations, in addition to regular activities such as conducting board committee meetings, general meetings, independently for listed and unlisted companies. So that is the panel we have today. Kishore should be joining us any moment, but let's get going. The topic today that we have is something which is very close to our hearts, which is how do you reboot compliance for secretarial function? Secretarial is a very important function. A company secretary deals with a lot of that. And let me take an overview first, and then we'll bring the panel into the discussion. So moving on, let's look at the universe of secretarial function. What does it entail? I have some interesting numbers here. So the Companies Act of 2013 has over 500 compliances with about 100 unique filings. There are frequent amendments and changes to the regulatory requirements. There are over 221 SEBI compliances and regulations, including LODR, PIT, among others for public listed companies. And there are really high penalties of non-compliances, some of them leading to imprisonment as well. Moving on, as per the Companies Act, Section 203, a company secretary is designated as the key management or managerial personnel. As per Section 2, subsection 60 of the Companies Act, a company secretary is also regarded as an officer in default. Hence, the company secretary can be penalized in the event of non-compliance. And as I discussed, the penalty in many instances can go up to jail term as well. In fact, having a company secretary is a statutory requirement for companies. All public listed companies need to do that. All public unlisted and private companies with paid up share capital of over 10 crores need to have a designated company secretary. So as you can see, the role is very important. Now, while the role is important, let's look at how a company secretary is managing a lot of these in today's times. The function is fairly complex, requires in-depth knowledge and understanding. It's highly manual. All the activities, including management of functions such as board meetings, AGMs, preparation of minutes, resolutions, e-forms, e-registers, records, all of these things are highly, highly manual. They sit, they copy paste, they put documents together. There are a lot of manual touch points. Things can go wrong. All of these are a part of highly manual function. In addition, there are a lot of regulatory changes. Just to give you an example, the country sees over 3,500 changes in a year. These changes are documented and available in searchable, sortable manner on our website at avantis.co.in. Those of you who are interested can look it up there. But there are almost 100 to 150 changes affecting the secretarial function in a year. Now, if you consider 250 business days, you're looking at one change every second business day in general. So fluid regulatory environment is a huge challenge. High penalties for non-compliance, some of them leading to jail term, is another major issue. And as I said, document management earlier, where a lot of these things are created in form of documents. The number of sheets are humongous, mind-boggling, and you'll see some of those in my subsequent slides, but the amount of paperwork is just too much. Now, in terms of compliances, the statutory compliance, which is company law and SEBI, for a public listed company, there are about 326 compliances in a year. For a public company, unlisted, it's 103. And for a private limited company, just MCA and SEBI, compliances are about 93. Private limited, there's no SEBI there, but MCA compliance is about 93. The event-based compliances which get triggered when events happen, 175 of them for a public listed company, 160 for a public company, and about 130 for a private limited company. So you can see that the compliance that a company secretary is dealing with is non-trivial. For a public listed company, you're approximately dealing with about 500-600 compliances just on these two major areas within a year. Now, breaking down the work of a company secretary, our team has done a fine job in analyzing the nature of work, breaking it down, and giving us some high-level ballpark numbers. Let's look at that. In terms of board meetings, we all know there are 4 board meetings in a year minimum, with at least 1 notice per meeting. The agenda items for a meeting, typically about 35. Number of pages for the agenda alone run into close to 400. We have done a lot of analysis on this. 400 seems to be an average number. For the minutes alone, the pages can go up to about 70. For total number of pages that get generated from board meetings in a year is about 1,600 plus. Similarly, when you look at committees, number of committee meetings in a year about 16. Again, notices at least 1, agenda items about 10, pages 40 and 15 respectively for agendas and minutes. You're looking at about 660 pages, give or take. And then similar number of sheets for AGM. When you count them all up, you're creating a minimum of about 2,500 to 3,000 pages, give or take. And these are only indicative number based on the law of averages. Some of the companies may be dealing with much more paper than this. And remember, this paper has to be first created. These documents have to be drafted, created, minutes have to be created, agendas have to be meticulously created. And all of this currently is being done manually. Now imagine the number of human touch points and points of failure. And last slide that I have here, just indicative, is what kind of documents are we talking about? Various kinds of notices, agendas, resolutions, minutes, e-registers, e-forms, records. By no means is this a comprehensive list, just an illustrative one to give you an idea of all the compliance documents that are being discussed here. So this is basically helping lay the foundation of our discussion. Let me first bring Bikram into the conversation. Bikram, thank you so much for joining in. We really appreciate your time and making yourself available for this discussion. Now, you've worked with large companies, listed companies for a long time in your career and have managed the secretarial function throughout your career spanning over 15 years now. Tell us about your thoughts and experiences of various challenges that a company secretary deals with in India today.
Yeah, thank you, Rishi. Let me speak what exactly we are facing. As a company secretary, I am the compliance officer of a listed company. And almost all the I worked in manufacturing companies. In manufacturing companies, lot of compliances, either it is factories or central excise, service tax, or GST now, and including the corporate laws, which is our core subject. But generally what happens, as a company secretary, we are mainly concentrating on corporate laws. And we can manage to comply all these rules and regulations, whatever there, we're trying to comply in corporate laws. But what happens, we don't know, or we don't have any knowledge what other laws let factories, how many laws are applicable to factories, whether we are complying to start a factory, whether we have proper license. Again, we are enhancing this production capacity, whether we have to file the industrial license application. And again, further, I faced one problem. I'll tell you my practical experience. When I joined a company, in a manufacturing company, after joining in 2-3 months, our plant head came to me, said, Vikram, we want to enhance our capacity. So what exactly we have to do? I said, yes, we have to file an industrial license, and we have to file one IEM with SIA. So he said, okay, we'll file. Then I prepared the document. When I submitted, immediately after 1 day, they said, you are enhancing your capacity from this level to this level. But your document says your capacity, existing capacity is not that much. It is very low. Then I said, no, my existing capacity is this much. What happened? During the intermediate period, we have not filed or we missed something. So again, I have to go for all the details, and I found that we have not filed the SIA application for enhancement of the capacity from X to Y. Now I am filing Y to Z. Then I approach other authorities, local authorities, what are the documents are available, at least to get the enhancement of capacity. Then I approach with them with condonation of my earlier application, and they allowed. Okay. This is one. I'll come out with the practical issues.
So Vikram, very interesting point. In fact, when I talk to a few hundred senior executives in a typical year, this is the biggest problem that they all have, the one that you're talking about, which is nobody seems to have control over what is the list of applicable laws and compliances, because these laws and compliances fall into multiple categories. There are licenses, registrations, permissions, there are consent orders, then there are returns, registers, challans, payments, remittances, notices, displays. These are all examples of laws. Nobody seems to have one list that they can refer to.
Yes. Yes. Not only that thing, even if simple issues also we don't know. Every company, not only company, other organizations also. I'll say that we know professional tax. How many persons, how many companies, or how many organizations filing proper professional tax returns? We don't know when to file, how to file, and what form need to be filed. What is the registration to be taken? We don't know what exactly this registration, what is enrollment. So these type of things, which is not our core subject, from where we'll get those knowledge? We cannot, every time we cannot source everything in the system. It is our work is how to work smoothly. Unless the repository is available or system is available, which will pop us, yes, we have to do all these things, then it is very difficult in this scenario to work. What happened in the professional tax? I am filing professional tax returns every month. But suddenly I got a notice, you pay interest. I said, what happened? Why I pay interest? Every month I'm paying a professional tax. Now when you are paying? I said on 20th. No. It is, though it is a central state subject, you are filing your VAT return on 20th, but professional tax return should be filed on by 10th. But I was filing on 20th. So for the remaining period, you have to pay interest. So when to file? I am complying, but when I am delaying, I am complying in a delayed manner. So these type of issues will come. Another subject I'll tell that when professional tax we are paying, what happened? We are paying in a wrong head. What exactly wrong head? There are two types of professional tax returns. One is enrollment, one is registration. We don't know what is the difference between that. Registration is different and enrollment is different, but we are paying all these things in the registration. Then I got notice in the under the enrollment. You have not paid enrollment. I'm sure most of the people don't know what is the difference between enrollment and registration. So how will get a solution for that?
So Bikram, just to add some flavor to this discussion, there are 1,536 acts in the country, and they lead to about 70,000 compliances or somewhere thereabouts. A small-sized company, we call it an MSME, with only a single plant in a single state, say pharma or chemical as an example, deals with about 80 licenses, registrations, and permission to start a business.
Yes.
Then there is a list of about 800 to 900 compliances with changes based on the specifics per year that this company is required to do. So the problem that you are articulating is a complex problem. 800 compliances in a year, you're actually referring to about 3 compliances on a per business day basis. And these are not done by one person. This is not done by one team of people. It is cross-functional. It's matrixed. Many people in the organization are responsible for it. There is no simple way a company secretary who is designated as an officer in default or a KMP responsible for compliance with the law of the land is likely to have one list in absence of technology solutions.
Yes.
Now let me bring Kishore. So Kishore, thank you so much for joining in. When I had introduced you, I had told our audience that you should be joining any moment now. So thank you for joining in. Let me bring you into the, I think you're speaking on mute. Let me bring you into the conversation now. You've worked with listed companies as well. The market cap above 1,000 crores, listed for a while now. Share with us some of the pains and groans, some of the challenges that you come across on a day-to-day basis managing compliance.
I'm sorry that I just joined a little late because of other meeting. And I'm thankful to you, Rishi, and your team for making me, part of this panel discussion where, digitization of compliances, at least discussion is happening in a very vibrant way for last more than a year, because I have been following Avanti's and, your webinars. There's a lot of discussion is happening. I think some or other day, we will see, all compliances will come into, digitization made in a mode where, the life of the company secretary will become easy, because the expectations of the regulator is so high that, company secretary should remember every rule and regulation and comply with, all the rules and regulation. If he is not complying, or say entity is not complying, and they'll issue the notices, and then there will be penalty and late fee, interest, all this will be consequences. I think with this discussion, at least we will take take this compliances into in a structured way, where in organization people can work together, and then they need not end up by paying the penalties and all. The first thing I highlight is, like, because of this physical documentation, most of the times the compliance officer or a company secretary work ends up with a setting of files or a printing the documentations, printing and putting into a files in a proper way, and taking those printed papers to the board and discussing with the board, and again preserving those documents because these are all a part of the statutory. So we have to preserve all the documents in the record room and again verify as and when you are in need of it. So these all will takes almost at 1 to 2 years, 2 hours, sorry, 2 hours every day for the company secretary to arrange the documentation part. I'm talking only at the company secretary level. If I percolate to the next level, say HR and labor, factory, and in this area, different people will be doing different work on this paper. And many times I find what the knowledge which company secretary will be updating. Maybe we are at hierarchy level, we are at little top, so we may be updating ourselves with the law, and we may be following with the law in a structured manner. But many times you cannot expect everything at the factory level, at least. Because you may be having 10 factories. Say in our case, we have 4 factories at the different states like AP and Telangana and Chhattisgarh. So in that areas, we may not have all the time control over all the compliance submissions that goes on daily basis. So to put that in a proper structured way, we need to have the technology which can monitor, which can follow up, which can remind, and which can update us, so that these things can be easily done. So that's how I look at. And challenges, yes, there's a lot of time is wasted in this paper arranging, printing the paper, taking the paper to the board, and asking the other plant people to make so many records, registers, and files, keep it ready. When there are audits, in fact, particularly in audits, it will go so much of time wasted. That those are the areas I see the challenging, particularly the follow-ups and reminders and coordination that will cost the company over a period of time.
Absolutely, Kishore, well said. Major problems, all of these. The sheer numbers are mind-blowing. And when you deal with multiple plant locations, multiple states, it is challenging and complex. One often wonders, a company secretary goes through so much education, law, and secretarial, education, practice, experience. And then if you analyze their typical day, 60 to 70% of the time is spent just in follow-ups and chasing people down. Whereas that time should have been better spent on strategizing, planning, becoming a thought leader in the space, networking with other company secretaries, rather than sending stinker emails as follow-up and chasing people down and spending days together trying to put a compliance certificate or a compliance report, which automatically can come out of systems in matter of seconds these days. So that technology is all there.
Yeah, even after all this, there are some other thing is missing. And for that, cost is there. The company will end up paying the cost after all this process. Still, there will be some cost. At the end of the year, something is left, and for which we may have to end up by paying something. Like Bikram has highlighted, professional tax. Sometimes we may miss single rule. In that rule, we will be ending up by paying some penalty or interest, which is a cost for the entity.
Totally agree with you. Now, Pranay, you bring a lot of experience in this space as well. Recently moved, setting up this whole practice at a new company. Share some experiences with us, the challenges, the difficulties, what needs to change here.
Yeah, thanks, Rishi. And with the due respect to Bikram and Kishore, with the experiences they are bringing in the secretarial and the legal field. So I will start with a quote. This is a very famous quote among the CS and the law, is that if you think that following the compliance is tough, try a non-compliance once. This is the famous quote we used to quote, and we used to remind ourselves as well in the whole professional career. So the basically why we are discussing this is all about, like, we all are the CS as well. So bringing the Companies Act 2030, so MCS has given a due responsibility on the shoulders of a company secretary. And now it has been, the company secretary has been designated as the key managerial person of the company. So for all the compliances, all the laws, what the company and the industry is following, it comes a whole responsibility. And the challenge is what the company secretaries and the laws faces, that to maintain the compliance in a structured manner, that Kishore has said. Like, so every time you have to check the due list, that what the list of the compliances that are, it is applicable on the organization. Now, every time there is a three kind of compliances that we follow, which is like event-based compliances. One is annual compliances, and some are fixed date compliance that we have to cover this compliance within the due date. So the basic challenges that we are facing in the industry is now that how to fulfill all the compliances and how to get all the, to, just to remind ourselves the whole date, the due date of the compliances is a very tough task, because not only you are going to deal with just a simple Companies Act 2013, you're liable to deal that ESIC Act, EPF Act, like the taxations laws, you're going to deal with the labor laws, industry laws. So these are a big task. And if you will see in a private limited company or a listed company, what I have found, there is a minimum number of 137 acts which are applicable on the companies. And if you go through the compliances, there are near about 186 and 187 compliances, which every company is following on a regular basis. So these are the main challenges. If you will see the 186 and 187 compliances, it may include some event-based compliances as well. So here comes the problem, how you're going to remind yourself that this is a due date for this law, this is the following this law. So that's why I feel like that, the digitization needs to be there in the compliance, just not to this reminder and the same things, but it is also good in the practice so that we can follow the compliance in a very structured manner. And the big problem comes when it comes to the audit part. Everyone is searching for the papers, the draft folders saved where, I don't know. So in the times of audit as well, you will find a better way. If it comes to the dilation part, it will be a better way to arrange everything and do the audits and due diligence as well properly.
Absolutely, Pranay, bang on dot. I think the point is well made that compliance is complex. There are too many of them. There are too many flavors of them. There is ambiguity in understanding the law at times. There are people who are responsible for compliance who may not be fully aware of what needs to be done. Law keeps changing all the time. There are manual filings even till date. There's no simple way of finding out what changed. These are all various challenges. And the point around audits, well made. There's so many cases where compliance document is missing. They're not able to produce an evidence out of it, and it is deemed as non-compliance. All of those are real world problems that we all face.
I would add one more point, Rishi, regarding this updation of law, because today law has become so dynamic. This we would not have, we would not used to see in 10 years back. Say, particularly in this last decade, law is so dynamic that daily some or other rule will change, even in the company law. Leave about the other laws. I'm not attempting the other laws. Only in a company law and a SEBI, if I touch it, every day there is some circular or some notification. If we don't go through it, if you don't try to comply with that, there will be going to be a cost for the company, and there will be a governance issue, and there will be some or other penal action from the regulators. So if I count other laws, I think there are so many things, because I'm also taking care of legal here and legal of my organization. And there will be I just explained my experience a month back where I was reviewing one power agreement per PPA. And recently there were so many changes in the PPA power purchase rules and all. When I was reviewing, suddenly I just reviewed the agreement, and next day there is one more change in the rule. So that we need to again adopt it, again look into the rule, and again implement the rule. If we don't do all this, then there will be huge cost, because if we go on spending time on the routine activities like a routine monthly compliance or say quarterly compliance, then there may be a chances that we may miss the bigger things. So that this routine things need to be structurally put into a software or a say technology way, adopting the technology, and then we can focus on the other areas where real value addition can go to the organizations.
Excellent. Well, Kishore, thank you so much for bringing that perspective. Law of the land is extremely fluid. In fact, it took us many years to wrap our arms around it, develop technology with AI, ML, OCR, smart crawlers, to be able to put all these regulatory changes. What you're saying is one or two changes from a SEBI MCA perspective. There are a minimum of about 15 to 20 changes a day that we capture across the law of the land. So I would want to tell our audience, in case they are interested to keep track of all these changes, they can come to our website at www.avantis.co.in or download our app, which is Rules Book, spelled as RULEZBOOK. Now, let me take a pause. Let me request our team to bring up a poll. Let me bring the audience in our conversation, get their views on it. Abhay, if you can bring up the poll, that would be wonderful. So I do request the participants and the panelists both to take a minute and please help us answer some of these questions. Another 30 seconds before we close the poll. Those of you who've already submitted, thank you so much for submitting the poll responses. There is a Q&A section. Please use that. Please put in your questions and I'd have our panelists respond to your questions. So I hope every one of you has been able to submit the responses. Another 10 seconds. Please go ahead and submit them. All right. Well, Abhay, if you can close the poll now. Let's move to the second part of our discussion today. The first part, we heard the panelists who come from different industries, different backgrounds, have dealt with secretarial function for a long time, bring deep expertise on the subject and understand the challenges as well. Now, let us understand from them what are the solutions and how can technology help you reboot your compliance. We are at the fag end of 2021. As we enter 2022, what are the plans? Is digitization one of them? Are you thinking about rebooting your compliance with digitization? What are the ideas? How can technology change the game? How can it help you migrate from an ad hoc, paper-based, people-dependent and highly manual function to a digital one? So let me now call Kishore into the conversation. Kishore, share with us your thoughts on how digitization can help reboot the compliance.
I'll just start with like I come with an experience, organization which has got a software to monitor its compliances. Also, I worked for the organization is not that mature to adopt the technology, because I had both experiences. In that way, when there was a technology or a software tool, compliance monitoring software tool, or where compliances are monitored through software, there used to be one single report which used to be submitted to the board, that these are the list of the compliance, these are the acts under which these are the compliances. For these compliances, these are the responsible people. And then the reminder goes to that particular person as and when, there is a due date, and those people will do it. And then they submit that, acknowledgement or whatever the compliance completion paper that they had it. And then thereafter, one report will be generated to the board, or I say it's for the management. It may be for the company secretary to see one report, all the compliances, whether done or not done. If it is not done, what is the reason? Why it is not done? If there is any particular reason for that, we will try to sort it out. So this is the way how, I had an experience to work with, this compliance software tool. And I also got an opportunity to work with, where the compliance monitoring software is not there, then it will be very, very, in a frugal way that, you all along have to go and approach the factory people and talk to them, whether pollution renewal is done or not, whether, because that is a very sensitive issue for the manufacturing company, whether pollution return is filed or not, whether, enrollment laws are complied, whether safety laws are complied. And you need to particularly, as and when this issue comes up, when issue comes up, you will go. If issue doesn't come up, then there, it will be keep on pending for months together, or say sometimes quarters together. So this is the one great experience I had it. Apart from that, I would say another, how solution can be, how the digital technology or a digital way of doing compliances will improve the efficiency and all. If I take an example like MCA portal, ROC filings, all are done on MCA portal. If I say in a back in 2006 or 7, where till 2006-7 there used to be all manual filings under the Companies Act, where one company secretary used to go with one form to the ROC office, where it will be outskirts of the city, and he has to go and he has to take that round stamp of the ROC and then come. Either it may be office boy, or sometimes may have to, company secretary himself have to go. For one filing one form, today, we know how many number of forms we are filing with ROC. If this MCA portal is not there, what is the life of, the company secretary? In fact, what is the efficiency of the organization which is doing the business for some economic activity? I would say I will also take the GST portal. When they implemented the GST portal, almost things have become very easy. And this is how, we can take the, in fact, regulators themselves are coming with, this kind of platforms where, we can do all the compliances in technology by, filing the e-forms. In fact, in new labor codes, they have proposed all the e-forms and e-registers. These are the things I think they are going to give a lot of relief to the enterprises, and they are very cost effective, and they will save economic resources. That's the way. And I just say one word, like adoption of technology as a ways and means for compliance management will increase the governance standard of the company. That's so, because compliance, how much of ease of doing business may be, because at the end of the day, there will be some or other compliances we may have to do it. We cannot, always look for, how many number of compliances we will reduce day by day. But only the thing is, we have to find what is the ways and means which we can adopt by, deploying this technology into managing the compliances. That's how, we can make the things efficient and effective. That's it, Rishi.
Great, Kishore. Thank you so much. Excellent points there. Great ideas. I agree with you that a single report should be able to shed light on all the compliances and the non-compliances, and potentially also give the reasons. We run a technology company, and we are quite happy to hear that some of these things are deeply embedded into our product. Smart dashboards, smart documents, regulatory reporting, compliance certificates, a lot of regulatory updates. All of these are important technology features. And let me bring Bikram into the conversation now. Bikram, love to hear from you how you envisage technology changing the compliance management.
Yeah, 21st century, we can say it is the century. It is the day of data. Whoever more data, they have more knowledge, more power, everything they will have. So to data management is the main thing. How data will be managed? We have all the information, but managing those things is a difficult affair. Without proper arrangement, without proper flow of information, it is very difficult to work. So there should be a mechanism which allow us to access data, to store data, to retrieve data, and that will help the technology. Technology will help a lot for managing all the data, and which will also guide us when to do, when to store, where to store, and it will help us retrieve when required and give a presentation. So mainly we are from the commerce background. Commerce, I'll tell one here, what exactly commerce is. Commerce is nothing. It is collection of data, storing of data, and giving a presentation to outsider who can analyze those data, just like accounting. First, we are entering accounting in the journal entry or into the accounts, ledger accounts. Then we are analyzing that. We are preparing a report, profit and loss account, balance sheet. What will do that? We'll present to the different regulators or different stakeholders who will analyze that, and they will invest there or they will interest in the company. So like that, if management, that legal compliance management, it is required. Why it is required? What exactly compliance is? First, we should know what exactly compliance is. Compliance is to obey certain rules and regulations. In a business term, what exactly means? To start a business, we need a license. We have to pay tax. Those are compliances. If we will not comply, then we are not a obedient person or obedient citizen or obedient company. And stakeholders will be only interested those companies whose company is compliant, legal compliant. Unless a company is not compliant enough with the laws, they will not be interested, they will not invest. So there should be a proper compliance management system in an organization, which should be a robust system, and everybody from top to bottom, everybody will be involved in that system. So how it will be achieved? Unless technology is involved and will not adopt technology, we cannot do all these things in an organization from top to bottom. And compliance is not only the affair of the company secretary or the CFO or the managing director. The compliance should be obeyed by all from top to bottom. It is a top to bottom approach. So if I'll give you an example, when in my earlier company, my office was in the plant location. So there is in our internal policy, whoever will come into the plant or goes out of the plant, they will be fixed. Means whether they are getting anything inside or taking anything outside. So when it was implemented, everybody said, no, why will you fixed? The first person was the managing director. He said, no, I should be fixed. So everybody obeyed that law. Like that, each and every person from top to bottom, if they're involved, if top management behavior is say that, yes, I will comply all these things, I'm interested to comply, then everybody in the system, they will comply all these rules and regulations. And it is a behavioral approach. So to involve all the persons in an organization, it is not an easy task unless everybody is connected. How it will be connected? It should be through technology. There should be a platform. Just like we are connecting now, I am in my office, Kishore is in his office, Pranay is in his office, and Rishi, you are in your office, and all of other persons are joining through technology. So like that, a technology platform should be there, which will help us to comply all these rules and regulations, which will pop up us what to do, what not to do. So this is the technology will help us to comply.
Absolutely, Vikram. Couldn't agree more with you. Technology is key. The world around us has changed. the way we order food now, the way we hail cabs now, the way we are meeting each other, sitting in different parts of the world, yet connected, speaking without losing any message. It has made life so much simpler. I remember a time when I used to travel pre-COVID, Pune being the airport it is, most flights start at 4:30 in the morning, for which I would have to wake up at 2 in the morning or 1:30 in the morning, practically no sleep, on the road all day to return only late night, post midnight. So it had implications on health. And today, a lot of our customers are willing to have electronic conversations, this present company included. So life
This
has
is a
changed.
big relief. This is a big relief that, this Corona has brought in, because of, making all the, board meetings in VC mode.
Absolutely.
Because even MCA has enabled that, you can have it. In fact, for general meetings, we are all eagerly waiting for if MCA eases out that also. For general meeting can be held through VC. I think that will be, more, of course, there can be a hybrid model of this and that, they can choose it off. But yes, these are the things which are discussed and implemented, and they are coming into execution level. That's a very great thing happening.
I think overall the acceptance of technology, the acknowledgement that technology packs a punch, brings tremendous efficiencies, gains, productivity benefits. It helps you palm off a lot of repeated items, copy paste functions easily. It keeps you reminded. It creates reports so easily, which you would take days and weeks and months to compile. All of these things are direct benefits. Just like, an accounting software changes the way you do accounting. Otherwise, I do remember my grandfather using Bahikhata approach about 40 years ago on managing accounts, and every Dashera and Diwali, we would set up new accounting books. It would be like pulling teeth to create a report from that approach, because you would have to sit with a calculator or something like that and do a lot of calculations before you would be able to make any meaningful sense out of that data. But technology has changed all that. So I think we are getting towards the end of our conversation. Let me invite Pranay. Pranay, what are your views around digitization? How do you plan to use it?
Right, digitization. This is what we are actually looking for, just to reduce ourselves burden, so that we can focus on a proper compliance part. Because if you will see, if I just government is also putting the efforts, like in 2017, if you were supposed to file the FEMA regulation or the famous form known as FCGPR, so you have to download like 7 to 8 forms and you have to file it manually. Then you are going to send it to the RBI office. So in this course, it might happen you have made some mistakes in the forms. It might happen will be delayed in the transition period, or it might happen if they have received or no, somehow the appropriate authority didn't get the receive the form. So just the consequences of this, you have put all your efforts. In fact, when it was a physical kind of situation, you have put your best effort to filing the forms, sending to the RBI offices and try to adhere the compliance within the due date. But if anything will miss out, the consequences is that you are going to penalize yourself or your company based on the cases. So to reduce these part, the main part is that the key manager person is the one who is responsible for each and every act of the company. To being performed well as a KMP, to reduce the parts of penalization, to reduce the part of non-adherence, and the most appropriate word I would like to say, to follow the corporate governance, because the company is all about the relationship of the stakeholders and all. So to follow the corporate governance, I personally feel that digitization is more important, not only the basis of personal basis from the top to bottom in the industry, as well as from government perspectives of view also there. It means in the coming time, we will see that the whole government policy, whole government compliance part will be digitalized. So yes, we are the one who is trying to get adherence to the direction part of the compliances and legality.
Excellent. Now, we are just 8 minutes left into the conversation. It's 4:52. There are a few questions. Let me immediately start with the first one. Panelists, feel free to respond to them. The first one is, do you think government is working towards reducing the compliance burden in terms of paperwork and sheer effort that is required? Anyone wants to take that? Or I can answer.
Yes, the governments are working, but it's more, they have to work some more. There is a need that, they have to come out with some more.
Okay. Vikram?
Because if the moment government adopts, or as a regulator adopts a technology that, as an enterprises, we don't have any other alternatives, like, it will be anyway cost effective, and it will increase the economic value to the country. Going to office, some regulator office, and filing some return and coming to me is a cost for my energy and time and resources all. So the more they encourage, I think in last decade there's a lot of development, and there should be some more. I think they have to push some more. That's what I see. Recently I see that courts, Supreme Court has given a direction that, all high courts, or even that distinct level courts should go in e mode. So if that happens, I think there's going to be a huge economic value that is going to be saved for the country.
Excellent. Vikram?
Yeah, I can say not entirely the paperwork is it is curtailed. I think now we are on the way to curtail the paperwork. To some extent, I think I may say that 20% to 30% paperwork has been reduced, because all the documents, whatever we are filing, though we are not filing the physical documents, but we are printing the papers, taking the signature and scanning and submitting the documents. Only we are curtailing the main form, we are curtailing. So the time will come, all the documents will be in the digitized mode. Practically, I'll say one example. Recently, I submitted one tender document, a government tender. And they said the tender document should be submitted on the online mode, as well as the physical mode. I said, why? No, how we'll submit this bank guarantee in the online mode? I said, okay, I'll submit the bank guarantee in the physical mode, and all other papers I'll submit on online mode. Then no, all these documents, means memorandum, articles, everything, you have to file physical mode. Digital signature will not work. So to some extent, we are adopting online platform, but as well as physical mode also there. But gradually we are trying to go to that way. I think technology will help us in the coming future. The paperwork will cut it.
Excellent. I do want to add a couple of comments here. The current government is working extensively. In many instances, we have helped various government departments in center and states rethink their regulatory burden via our 4-vector framework of rationalize, simplify, digitize, and decriminalize, which helps reduce the compliance burden, digitize the existing compliances, and reduce manual interventions and paper-based filings. At the same time, simplify forms and decriminalize various laws which currently have provision for imprisonment. So yes, some progress is being made, but as they say, it's a journey of 1,000 miles. A few steps have been taken. A lot more work is required. In the interest of time, let me move to the second one. Does the document management at all affect the motivation of fresh company secretaries? Can we do something about it? This is
yes,
a
absolutely. Yes, it is, because today's whatever the fresh company secretary is getting into organization, they are no more interested to handle this bunch of files. They want little on the laptop, on the system. You can have very in a smart way. You can work and close the work, rather taking the print, again scan it, again submit it, again take the signature. These all things I see there is a lot of hesitation is going on in, because I see in the trainees, mostly in our company secretary team trainees, the moment they get into a corporate world, they see so much of paperwork in the company secretary department particularly, and other plants where in the safety and enrollment departments, and that hesitation is there.
Well said. Paperwork is looked at as the 19th century way of doing business. Earlier, there was a big difference between the technology that we used in our private life and technology that was available in enterprises. Today, that difference is getting smaller. So while the younger company secretaries who are coming into the workforce now, they are far more technology enabled, capable. They've been using, my daughter and I have this conversation that when she was born, which was about 10 years ago, is the first time I started using Facebook, because Facebook came into the world around that time. And today she's about 10 and she's far more adept at handling technology than I was at the age of 30. So I think the way my father did technology versus the way I did versus how I see my kids doing it has changed dramatically. And I think the professionals who are coming into the workforce now, their ambition around using cutting edge technology, better platforms, native mobile app is much higher than what the previous generation had. And I think they are looking for all the mundane, repeatable items being automated so that they can spend a lot more time planning, learning, organizing, strategizing, rather than mundane follow-ups and email-based responses. Vikram, Pranay, any inputs on that?
I think, all the senior company secretaries, all who are not that acquainted with, technology, they should try to encourage young company secretaries to, give some ideas in their workforce, so that, these senior company secretaries' life will become easy.
Sure.
Because they should entertain their ideas.
Absolutely. Easier said than done, right? Next question, how to choose the right tool to automate secretarial compliance function? Anybody who wants to take a shot?
What is the right way to choose our food? So it depends upon the requirements and different tastes. Different people have different tastes. So we have to see, a lot of platforms are available. We have to choose one of them. And if we are not happy with one platform, yes, we can change. But it depends.
I think the question, Vikram, is how to choose. And coming from this industry and having at the forefront of digitizing this, maybe I can help shed some light. It's very simple, right? You have a certain function to do. Yes. And you need to choose a technology that helps you comprehensively deliver that function. It needs to make sure that your requirements around productivity gains, efficiency gains are met. It needs to be user-friendly. So when you come to the portal, you should not have to sit with the user manual. When I gave my first time my mom got an iPhone from me many years ago, she asked me if there is a user manual that she could leverage. And I told her that Steve Jobs never created a user manual for iPhone. That's how intuitively the phone was created. Now in technology, capability to adopt, leverage, and utilize without having to look at a user manual is very important. And that's where ease of use is key to adoption. Then it needs to...
What I feel is it should be very comprehensive and it should be updated time to time. Because, some of the tools I see, their updation is missing. Because, there will be keep on some or other glitch which has to be, added. In that particular, in that, there will be a gap of, again, you may have to go and look into the circular or a particular date notification, again, bring into this tool. So that will be the one area which we need to be very conscious about. Otherwise, sure. It should be very comprehensive.
So then there are other areas like it needs to have cutting edge technology, because technology changes every so often. Right. And if you are still using old technologies, they don't work well. The browsers are old, the apps are old, they're becoming incompatible, features are not there. So that's another big area. Security is a big one. A lot of companies, they think putting up a few screens in a database is technology. Unfortunately, as you move digital, security becomes a key criterion. So you need to make sure that the vendor that you're working with understands security and has put all the controls, checks and balances to provide security. Then it needs to have mobile apps. Why? Because most of us keep a mobile all the time with us. And anything available on mobile is much easier to use than going back to a desktop or a laptop and logging in every time. So if a product has a mobile interface which works, nothing like it. So these are some examples of ways in which you choose the product. In the interest of time, I'll quickly move to the last question here. Can we have a view of your dashboard functionalities? Absolutely. There is a dedicated webinar that happens every week. I think it is on Thursday afternoons, Ridhima. Please look up for that. You can get all the details or reach out to us at sales@aventis.co.in. Somebody will get in touch with you and arrange for a comprehensive demo of the product. So I think with that, we've covered all the key questions that were there. Come to an end of today's session. Great discussion around the regulatory burden, complexity, ambiguity, paper orientation, ad hoc nature, manual items, regulatory environment which is so fluid. So I'd love to have a longer conversation, but unfortunately we've run out of time. So thank you, Bikram, Kishore, and Pranay for taking the time today, sharing your experiences. Really value the inputs and feedback, and we'll make sure that some of these inputs are built into our product, which they are. Happy to see that, and we'll see you next time. So for our audience, thank you so much for being so patient and engaging. We'd love to hear more from you. If you have any topics of your choices, write to us at sales@aventis.co.in, and we would love to engage with you and maybe schedule a future webinar on a topic that you would like to hear from. So with that, I conclude the session today. Thank you so much, everyone. Until next time, take care.
Thank you, Rishi.
Thanks, Doc. Thanks, Joe.